My name is Darryl. I'm a film and television producer. Growing up in Englewod was interesting. When we first moved to Englewod, it was mostly white. And so for probably the next 3 or 4 years of Englewod, we saw the transition from a mostly white neighborhood, with us being probably one of 2 or 3 black families, to a pretty much 99% black community. And it was interesting in the fact that you could see how the resources start to shift, how you go from places where you can get something to eat and sit down with your family to block glass and your food shoved through a window. So it was interesting, but it was a great experience for sure. I've known Mark Harris for about 10 years, who is a filmmaker. Mark has been very supportive. He has been an innovator in doing things across the city and across the country, frankly. And he called me up and asked me if I would participate. And Mark is a fellow brother in this, and so I did it. The festival improves the neighborhood to the extent that one of the biggest things that we are missing in Englewod is we don't have a lake, we don't have a natural draw. There are not any businesses that draw people to Englewod. And so what this festival does, in my belief, is that it draws people to an area, which draws attention to an area that has been underserved. The only thing that people think or hear about Englewod is crime. And so when you think about all the people that have come out of Englewod, many of us have left Englewod, so the very resources that are Englewod are no longer there. So I think this festival is a great opportunity to bring back attention to an area that a lot of very good people have come from. The interesting thing I've heard about it is that people that you would not normally think of coming to Englewod are talking about coming and participating in the festival. It's got a cross-section of films, and like I said, I think really bringing something like a film festival with celebrities, with other people who are from Englewod, I think it's just reinvigorating and re-energizing the community, and I think that's a great thing. I have been volunteering with some of the grammar schools in Englewod, and you'd be surprised what they have not seen and what they've not experienced. So just in my volunteer work, I've been engaging people, engaging parents, engaging kids, talking about healthy eating and healthy lifestyles. But I really believe that this is the first of many opportunities that will come to Englewod. And hopefully this is a platform for the politicians that are in Englewod, or the wannabe politicians in Englewod, to get involved. Because ultimately, if you don't have jobs and resources in a community, you will get the kind of situation that you currently have here in Englewod. So I think, Mark bringing the film festival here is a great opportunity for the residents and the politicians to get involved and to really highlight all the good that can come from Englewod. Being a documentary filmmaker and a television producer, most of my work, probably 70% of my work, has dealt with black life and black culture. I have a documentary out now called Real Black Love, which deals with black romance in movies and how it's impacted our culture. So I think part of it too is really pushing to reach people where they are. As a consumer, black people over-index in terms of watching television. They say we watch about 7 or 8 hours of TV a day. So if you think about, that's a third of your day spent watching TV, that is a great medium to reach people. So I've chosen to take that route to reach people. I mean, we know that great people can come from anywhere. Great people come from everywhere. I think what it says is that when you send your kids to a certain school, you're a certain kind of parent. I had the privilege of going to Hales Franciscan High School, and your parents being engaged, having people in the household that are engaged, no matter where you send your kid, will yield a positive result. So I think urban prep, when you send your kid to urban prep, you know what you're sending your kid to, as opposed to just happenstance where you go to the school that's in the area. So I think that that is indicative of the kind of parents as much as anything else. I think it's less on the students and more incumbent on the parents. And I've seen that. I mean, by volunteering in schools, I've seen that. I was there for an open house, if I can just tell this quick story. So I was there for an open house, and I see a kid that I had been seeing, and so I asked where his parent was, and he told me that his mother was getting her hair done, and that's why she couldn't make his open house. So that to me is indicative of, you know, again, the kind of input that you could have. So the more involved you get, the better kids you get. So I think that's the kind of net result of that. Well, I played basketball at the same park that Derrick Rose played at 20 years before he got there, but, you know, they called it Murder Park, and they didn't call it Murder Park for no reason. Right. So when you grow up in those kinds of areas, you see a lot, you experience a lot. And so what I think you get out of that is you get a certain determination. It shapes you in ways that, you know, maybe growing up in some other area wouldn't. So you have really a clear-cut path. You could either go the right way or the wrong way. There's no in between when you grow up in those areas. So I think that that's the great thing about coming from a place like Englewod, is that if you want to get out or if you want to improve yourself, it is clear that you have to do that, because there's a lot of the wrong options there. So I think with this film festival and these kinds of positive things, it gives them more options to improve themselves. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity. I think what happens across the country, specifically in Englewod, is that what you hear in Englewod is about murder, rapes, and drugs. And there's so much more that goes on in Englewod. And the challenge when you're doing things in the media that are positive is to get people to come out and to become interested in it. And I think that's unfortunate. I think, you know, there's a danger when you paint people or an area in just one broad stroke. If Mark hadn't promoted that Bernie Mac was from Englewod, how would we know that Bernie Mac was from Englewod? I'm from Englewod. Craig is from Englewod. I mean, there's a lot of people that are from Englewod, but all you really hear about Englewod is the murders and the deaths and all the other dysfunction that comes out of there. And there's so much more to Englewod than that. So I think that to really have a balance and to have people like Mark who are in the media to go out and really highlight the positive stories of what comes out of Englewod is wonderful. What I like to see in Englewod 5 years from now is places where kids and families can go eat, an opportunity for people to walk the streets and feel comfortable. One of the things when I was growing up in Englewod, and Mark and I talked about this some, was, you know, being a teenager and not having restaurants where you could sit down and eat. You know, most of the restaurants were fast food restaurants. You were served your food behind bulletproof glass. And so I would like to see those kinds of restaurants, those kind of places. I would really like to see it become more of a family community. You know, some of the other dysfunctions that you see there, I like to see that decrease. I mean, I'd like to see older people able to walk down the streets and not be afraid. I like to see people being able to sit out on their porch if they want to as a family. I mean, so those are so many of the things that I like to see happen in Englewod in the next 5 years. And I think it's possible, but I think it all starts with people committed to making a change. I think people have to get involved. I think that, I think in any area, for example, again, I go back to my time being there and volunteering in the schools. You know, we did a walk, and we had the police to escort us on the walk, and so one of the young men said, "Why are they following us?" Meaning in an accusatory manner. So I think that we've got to have a greater balance between our institutions and their interaction with the community. I think we need a more positive interaction between our institutions and our communities. I think that would be a great start. I think our schools have got to get better. I think our parents have got to get better. And I think that, again, people like Mark and myself and other people that are from Englewod have to find a way to go back and say, look, I came from Englewod. I know what it's like to grow up in Englewod. I know what it's like to hear. I mean, I'm sure you've heard gunshots in Englewod, but that is not all of what Englewod is about. So I think that growing and people coming back and participating in Englewod is the key to the success and the future of Englewod.